Today in this video, we're going to talk about some pretty nerdy stuff. And let me just say, if you want to be successful with your citing and your references, and those will actually probably influence grades. I mean, it's important to pay attention to them. What I would do is make this video your friend, and some of the handouts that are on the video and handouts module and in the writing well module. Both of those will help a lot. So we talked about this a little bit. We talked about this top piece in the last video. So you want to be paying attention to where an article is published. So in this case, it's developmental psychology. It's published in 2018, volume 54, pages 1723 to 1734, all in that green box. The yellow box describes the title, the purple, the author, and the green. Oops, I already said the green. And it looks like this down here, where you include all of the authors, last name first, initials with a space between each initial, then the date, then the title, volume or a journal, developmental psychology, volume 54, issue number 9, and then the pages and the DOI. Simple as that. So, this is really another way of thinking about what we've just said. Here is another example. You're going to find all of these in the PowerPoint. Okay, so again, the last name, first name, all the authors, the year, full title, the journal number, volume, issue, pages, and DOI. So what this looks like in your reference list is as above, Alexander, PA, 2018. So that's included there and in alphabetical order. There are then two different kinds of citations, and we'll talk a little bit more about these in a bit. Parenthetical, so that occurs at the end of a sentence, Alexander 2018. Narrative citation is when you're including it in the sentence. Alexander 2018 reported blah, 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 blah. Okay, so it's important to to recognize which is which and to use them appropriately. Here is for a book. Here's a reference for a book. It looks very much like that for a journal article, except that you're going to italicize the title of the book, include an edition number if there is one. So for example, for Morling, you're depending on what volume you're using or what edition you're using, maybe 3 or 4. And then the publisher. And sometimes the book will have a DOI, particularly if it's an online book. So here's what your reference page looks like. Note that it's in alphabetical order, that there are hanging indents, and you can set those up nicely in Word. References is what is said at the top in bold. And you're just going to keep going. So here are a number of different examples of references. Here's our in-text citation and our, so Daft and Perola, Merlot, comma, 2009. That is a parenthetical citation at the end of a sentence for identifying what the source was that you got the ideas from in the previous sentence. Lucier and Achua, 2013, refers to the authors in this quote, and the page numbers go at the end. So here we see, different author types, parentheticals, and narratives. Pretty straightforward. They're all following the same kind of format. Notice that the first time you write out National Institute of Mental Health, and then refer to the acronym NIMH. American Psychological Association, you write out the first time, and then after that, or you put the acronym, and subsequently you can say APA. Okay. Here's what your title page is going to look like, and you can find a cheat for how to do this under resources for writing well, that module in your D2L site. Web pages are harder for a number of reasons. In this case, the article name is italicized, the site and source is not. You don't include a retrieval date. You do include the web address. And you include the most specific source that you can. So if there is an author, you include that. If not, you include the larger agency. And you include the most specific publication date possible, which might be 2023, January 27th. And here's what a website might look like using, or a reference page which used a variety of web pages. And you see both the parenthetical citations and the narrative citations at the end. Government agency or group author. Again, first, in your references, you're going to write out National Institute of Mental Health. And then in your parenthetical citation, the first time you write out National Institute of Mental Health. And then include the acronym if you're going to be referring to it on subsequent occasions. Same for the narrative citation. National Institute of Mental Health 2018 reported that blah, blah, blah. Here you see if we have an individual author, same ideas, right? Italicize the article name, don't italicize the source, and then include the reference or the location. What's difficult about web pages is recognizing whether it's a web page or just or an article, for example, posted on the internet. Again, here are some examples of parenthetical and narrative citations. For chapters in edited books, it's for the book itself, it looks, and here's our table of contents, and you can see that there are a whole series of different articles. This particular book was written by or edited by Palutzian and Park, and Crystal Park is an alumnus of our program. And you see one of her articles or chapters here. So you're going to look for, does it say that it's edited? And you should see in your table of contents a series of different chapters with different names. Okay. And this is how a chapter would look, a little bit more difficult. Again, the authors, the date, the title, but you say it's in, and then write out the editors with their first or with their initials first, say editors, and then the name of the book and the pages, which is italicized, and the pages that the book is or that the chapter is. In this case, you say PP, again, to help the reader recognize that this is an edited book rather than an article. This is hard. So if you're confused, I say, I'm not at all surprised. What you're going to have here, or what you do have here, is a practice that is in your, on the module, the visual videos and handouts module. Work through it. Face-to-face students are working through this in class. There are also a number of handouts for how to handle this, the referencing and citing better, both in this module and in the Writing Well module. Find the handout that works best for you. And you can find everything that I discussed here in your, in your PowerPoint. And take care. One of the good things about this video is the next one has to be more straightforward. Take care. Bye-bye.